Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode. Today, again with us, Alex. Hi, Alex. How are you?
I'm great, man. How are you, Rocco?
I'm very good, Alex. I'm very good. We got a lot of good feedback from our last episode, where a lot of people apparently were glad we were able to solve the issue with GA4 and tracking. They were all enthusiastic. So I wanted to thank you again for brainstorming with me and with our listeners because they found it very helpful.
Yeah, and I mean, thank you. And I mean that conversation together with the questions that came up has actually led me to write to sort of put everything in together into a search engine journal article that is coming out in about a month and a half.
Oh, that's amazing, man. Send it over whenever you have it. I will be sharing it with everybody in my network as well. Today, Alex, we're actually going to cover another interesting topics, because I've been, Google has changed a lot in the last 2 years in terms of shopping campaigns, right? And in addition of shopping campaign, they're automating a lot of these campaigns as well. And kind of the landscape in digital marketing, we are seeing Facebook launching Advantage Plus campaigns, which are pretty much a performance max campaign made by Facebook. But Google has launched this Performance Max, which is kind of interesting, right? Many people label Performance Max as as the new shopping campaign, but that's not true, right? Performance Max can run without shopping as well. And literally, Performance Max with shopping and without shopping, although they look similar, they're a completely different beast. The first thing I wanted to bring up to you is actually using Performance Max for lead generation campaigns rather than shopping. In my personal experience, what I've noticed is that whenever you launch Performance Max, particularly for businesses that might not have a ton of data, all of a sudden you start getting a lot of spam leads through AdWords, so paid clicks, right? Which kind of makes me think about the early days of display when there were companies that would like hire clickbaiters to get clicks, get paid by Google, and get those spam leads, right? And the issue is not solved yet. Have you experienced something similar in your agency?
I mean, I'd say majority of the clients endure this, unfortunately. It's particularly early stage. And also depending on sort of what audience you start sort of targeting towards. But yeah, I mean, constant. It's a complete annoyance, and I think it actually sort of some clients and their sales departments or sort of support departments are a bit sort of laid off by this because it's literally filling up their entire funnel with very unqualified type of leads. Um,
But that
so I
creates a
mean,
big problem, right? Because you are wasting time of your salespeople and you're filling up your email marketing list because a lot of these processes are automated nowadays, right?
correct. And I mean, I think again, dependent on many of our clients, they have high value baskets, so that's actually not even automated. Therefore, and also it's a complex product. They actually do take the time to try to call up and follow up with these people. And one thing that I've noticed, even though the sign up process may be relatively complex, and the clicks that are unqualified, they actually go through the tedious process of actually filling out and
Yeah.
becoming a qualified lead, which to me is I, I don't either. Sort of the bots have become a lot more sophisticated, which is clear that they have become. um so it's pretty fascinating.
Yeah,
uh,
and they must be using a VPN to fake like they're in your country, obviously, because there are geo settings and they're being bypassed by those bots usually all the time.
But I mean, I think it's also because when you start sort of comparing GA data versus Google Ads data, you can directly start seeing that Google Ads indicate that the traffic comes from these countries, while GA says that you actually have a ton of traffic coming from these countries. So
Yeah,
it's still this sort of two different type of truth, uh, which is a bit tricky. But I mean, Tell me here, Rocco. I mean, how you work to deal with this?
So
Do you have a couple of good, strong examples?
So, in my personal experience, as I was working toward this issue, I was like, there is one big problem that I need to solve for my client. I can ask for a refund for the clicks that are bogus, and Google usually does give the refund. But what do I do with the data? Because now the data is stored in my campaign, and Google is going to optimize for that, right? Because that data has become a conversion. So, actually, what has worked very well with me is the following. I'm going to share my screen just in case anybody that is listening would ever be interested. Let me get to the right screen here. So here's what I did. Whenever you are in AdWords, there is something very hidden. If you go to Tools and Settings and Bid Strategies, and then you go to Advanced Controls, there is a new thing that came up a couple of months ago, which is called Data Exclusion. You click here, and you're literally able to create a segment. Let's say I call it test. I select the start date and time where the issue presented itself. I can actually tell Google what campaign types, and I can be Performance Max, what devices to consider. And now, if I do that, Google is going to remove all the data that I do not want from the optimization process. For me, that's the only defense mechanism I have to try to educate the system that that data is not good for me. So that worked very well for me.
So, I mean, I think you're right in terms of the optimization process, and I think what sort of is preempting the implementation and adaptation of PMAX and in sort of the bigger picture. I've used actually third-party tools to at least spare clients both from overspending on poor leads, and also making sure that their customer support isn't being covered with really poor leads, and that's really worked well. So there's a couple depending on sort of what type of industry you're in.
Yeah, like ClickSees, for example, right? One of the yeah. My main concern was like just yesterday, actually no, yes, 2 days ago, we were working on a law firm that is a client of ours, and all of the sudden their cost per click from $40 went to $2, and they start getting a bunch of spam leads, and we were like, there we go again, right? So Google was very nice; they refunded the money right away to the client, but we were not able to get good traffic anymore, right? So I was like, yeah, I can exclude those IPs, but if I don't use data exclusion, how am I gonna get the right traffic? So we applied a 2 week data exclusion on their account. Alex, the next day, the cost per click went back to $45, which for a law firm, you know that this is the right cost per click in the US, like 45 to 100, and they start getting leads at $300, which is usually the cost per lead you expect for a law firm. So I think combining the two methods might be like the right answer for people doing PMAX, because otherwise you might incur into a big issue when it comes to having the issue represent itself. Of course, once you get a lot of conversion, the issue goes away through the AI optimization, but they need to be good conversions, right?
But I mean, that's part of, I think now we're GA4 and audience creations, and sort of how you start creating that in GA4 and then pushing it over to PMax campaigns and Google Ads is starting to become very interesting as well, to start seeing if we're starting to see improvements in problems like this, for example.
No, I agree. I think that, all of that is going to be helpful. Honestly, as far as GA4 goes, I hope that they're gonna bring back the market audiences, all the nice data points there. But that is true. Like, you basically, PMAX was thought to be a campaign that you set and forget, but actually now it takes a lot of work to make sure that PMAX campaign doesn't generate bad traffic for you, right?
But I mean, I think it almost felt, yeah, I mean, you're right, it's a set and forget, and I think that there's a lot of advertisers or clients out there that have campaigns that are set on forget by many consultants and specialists out there, unfortunately. But I think now with GA4 coming into the picture and like based on sort of what we spoke about last week, it's pretty
Yeah,
complex to get it to set up properly, and therefore also feed your G Google Ads campaigns in an
yeah,
appropriate way. And so therefore you need to spend a lot more time, technical time, to get your KPIs
yeah.
and that right in GA4 before you get going with PMax.
I agree, and that brings me to like another interesting topic when it comes to PMAX, which are the so-called audience signal, right? And I've seen a lot of agencies making one big mistake when it comes to PMAX, which is they set up an audience signal, they create the campaign, and they wait and see for performance. While what they don't, I think, understand is that audience signals really are the ad groups of PMAX campaigns, because you can set up one for in-market keywords, one for search keywords, one for your own data. You literally can have infinite combination using GA4 itself, right? So me personally, when I start a PMAX campaign, I like to have one campaign per audience signal, so I can easily see performance, optimize budgets, and see what does well. What is your approach to audience signals? Are you doing something similar where you test a lot of them?
Yeah, I mean, I think again, now we're starting to talk about different markets. We do a lot of work in Europe where GDPR it sort of speaks its own right, and therefore can to some extent also limit what type of signals we're allowed to work with and use. Um, while on other in other regions around the globe, yes, we're doing something similar. I think it's a prerequisite. Um, and also again depending on what the client really needs and to sort of improve their overall KPIs. But yeah, I'm definitely doing something similar to you, Rocco. I think it's the best. And
Yeah,
then we're in a learning phase and feels that, I mean, PMax is also evolving every day, and therefore we need to learn with it.
yeah. What I don't like about PMAX, which is something that I really dislike, is the fact that there is a lack of transparency. And I cannot get over the fact that there is a lack of transparency. And here's what I mean. PMAX runs off search, right? They don't give us a search term report. PMAX runs on display. They don't give us a placement report. PMAX runs on YouTube. They don't give us a placement report either. So what I'm thinking is, I do understand that you have an AI that understands our campaigns, understand our conversions, right? All good with all of that. I don't complain. But I worked with a lot of software as a service companies, SaaS companies that actually do PPC management, and what the all the most successful ones told me one thing, which is PPC management softwares are not meant to replace you. They are meant to optimize the use of your time, where they basically make analysis for you, they bring up those analyses, and then based on your experience, you know whether something is good or not. But PMAX, let's say that there are a few terms that you are showing up for that I don't want to. I don't have the visibility. Or even if a client asks me, where is my ad showing up? The answer is Google decides, right? It kind of, I don't like the fact that there is no transparency from that standpoint, also from a reporting standpoint to the client, right? Because let's assume that there is one website that gets a 20% conversion rate for you, right? And you're maybe showing up on that website 100 clicks a month. If you know that, you're gonna be able to call the website and buy placements and try it out, right? But I mean, do you think that it would be nice to get those reporting down the line as the platform evolves?
I mean, rumors say that they're sort of in the pipeline, but who knows what rumors
Yeah.
that are true. I think what speaks against sort of PMAX again is exactly the black box that you're talking about, the lack of direct insight. And I mean, I work with a lot of clients. They could be smaller, they can be much bigger, but they're pretty into the details. And if one can't actually explicitly sort of give them sort of a bit more detail of what's going on, they don't feel that there's a certain trust in that,
Yeah.
and therefore they actually have a tendency of wanting to roll it back. And
No, I agree. But do you think that as they evolve PMAX, like there is going to be more control given? Like I don't expect the control to necessarily make a lot of changes, but some of them might be helpful. Like
but I mean, take this for example. I mean, we do a lot of SEO work as well, successful
yeah,
SEO. Some businesses, they do very well on their brand, and they're not being competed. They don't have any competition in certain markets, and meaning it's free traffic.
yeah.
So they rank number one organically, and it also sends the right signals in sort of towards the search engines that they well worth there, and therefore the overall website improves its domain authority in the search engines. While all of a sudden PMAX comes sweeps in, and I almost can tell you that quite a majority of a lot of those keywords or conversions that you see in PMAX are a direct impact, unfortunately, on those brands, because all of a sudden the traffic on SEO on that brand in that country has dropped significantly.
Because they advertise on the brand keyword, right?
Of course, it's a no-brainer.
And I believe like all you can do is probably exclude it, right, at some point and say that's the only solution. But if you do not know that, all of the sudden you're like, wow, this campaign is doing so well. Well, it's your own brand term, right?
And I think often many companies, if there's an in-house marketing sort of department, or that it's been outsourced to an agency or agencies, uh, they work in silos. So therefore, they have different KPIs, sort of almost competing with one another, instead of unifying and seeing sort of what's happening on the paid side and the organic side to actually see the best interest of the actual overall company.
No, I agree also because like I think added the fact that they were able to add an option to potentially add a negative keyword is like a mind-blowing thing, because it just came up like recently, right? At the beginning you could not put a negative keyword in PMAX. So finally they came up with the solution where they're like, you know what, you can actually add a negative keyword, which brought a much better scenario, because again, it was eating up a lot of organic traffic, as you said. That was a big issue. So as you said, they're probably slowly getting there. I think the next step that they're probably gonna implement, and I don't know if you agree with that, is the famous mobile apps exclusion on display, right? That's a big painful topic for display campaigns, because there are a lot of mobile apps that are built to mistakenly click on the ad, and the click really doesn't mean anything. So hopefully that's the next step, because on displays available on PMAX, not yet. Have you been using negative keywords addition to PMAX since they rolled it out?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's been a necessity, and because I mean, again, once you do both things in both worlds, um, have pretty good control over what's happening on the SEO side. They can complement each other really well,
Yeah.
rather than sort of competing with one another. Um, so definitely been using that quite a bit. But
So let,
then
let me ask
I
you
would
about the negative keywords while you're still on the topic. Isn't that
say,
weird that the negative keywords were not added as a possibility to do it at the campaign level, though? Because like that's kind of sneaky, because let's assume that I have in my account a brand campaign, a non-brand campaign, a PMAX campaign, But now, apparently, in order for you to add the negative keyword to PMax, you need to add it in the account settings under account level negative keywords.
Yep.
Isn't that
And
weird?
of course, but I mean, you need to dig and find it. And again, they roll out quite a lot of these features, a bit sort of not with an email saying we've rolled out this new feature, go out and test it.
Yeah, and
Um,
to me, I've heard that you can contact support and they might add negative keywords just to a Performance Max campaign, but I'm not sure if that's accurate because I'm like support uses the same interface we look at.
I mean, when I speak to some Google reps that I'm in direct contact with, this is not really what they say that they would help us with, unfortunately.
Yeah,
So
so as of now, for those of you that might be confused, you can add negative keywords to Performance Max campaign, but at the account level. So if you try to exclude your brand, it's going to exclude it from every campaign in your account. Just be aware of that.
and I mean the same like the black box tendencies is that all of a sudden you actually don't know what ad copy works. Therefore you can't sort of double up on that. You don't really know imageries, videos, what is actually working, and therefore it also starting to, when you work with designers and having a design department, um, it they appreciate to also hear what is working and what's not.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you need to almost do quite a lot of guessing at the moment to say that this is working better than that. And then so yeah, I mean I'm not a fan of black boxing. um and I believe that I mean Google is required to sort of unbox it to for this to be successful.
No, I agree. I totally agree. And I think overall we will need to figure out how to, figure out a way to smoothen the process until more options become available, right? That's the secret, and we will see how that goes. And hopefully, it will go. It will go well. Will go well, and will help us to optimize the campaign further. But there is one more topic, Alex, that I would like to talk to you about when it comes to PMax, which is PMax for shopping, which seems to have a different life. It doesn't have nearly half of the issue that PMax for leads generation has. Seems to work much better. Um, and overall, quick note here, there is a question from Douglas. Rocco, do you archive these discussions? Also, is there a way I can get recurring meeting into my calendar? So Douglas, in terms of the archives, they're all on my LinkedIn profile. They get saved. So, and you can also go on my YouTube channel, which I can share the link of in the comments later. You will be able to find all the recorded conversations there. Overall, these discussions, every time I post them on my LinkedIn, you're able to add them and then add them to the calendar. But I don't think they let you add them recurring. You just need to keep monitoring my profile for that. But I will send you reminders next time, anytime we have one with Alex. And coming back to Performance Max, Alex, have you experienced the same for the shopping campaigns you've run? I kind of feel they're more reliable almost.
I think it's because here we're starting to go back to the basics. It has clearer signals, a lot clearer signals in terms of what a clear KPI really is, and sort of the value of that. So therefore, shopping PMax have a tendency of working much better and stronger. While say lead is not, it's a bit fluffy.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, definitely, and I mean this is most likely an evolution of, as you said earlier, from the smart shopping campaign. So I mean, it feels that no, I've seen great success on ecom clients of mine.
Yeah, no, I feel the same. Overall, to be fully transparent with you, I still believe to these days the Google Shopping performed better than PMax in terms of like performance itself, because sometimes there is a lot of display that comes into that. But I also believe that it's just like the campaigns needs more data to perform at its best. But overall, I think PMax for shopping is a product that has a lot of promise, and I think it's gonna be interesting to see how that develops. Now, I was having a conversation. I'm not gonna say the name of the company because they didn't become a client yet. We are in negotiation, but they did something very smart that I think is gonna be very interesting. So what they do is they made a few studies. They're a very big company abroad, but they made a few studies that they noticed that of the people that add to cart on your website, actually a very small percentage ends up converting after remarketing campaigns. So they collected all the data from Google, GA4, your store provider, which would be Shopify, WooCommerce, anything, right? And anytime they collect this data, what they do is they analyze the user behavior, and they determine that the users that are actually more likely to buy is not the people that add to cart, but a specific set of people, which by the way, 7% of them added to cart. And they were able to basically build those data sets that they push back to AdWords in the form of an audience that then you retarget to, and it generates better performance, right? It's like artificial intelligence applied to marketing, right? So now
That's
with
super
email,
smart.
yeah, it is very smart. It works very well. So what it was interesting is that I'm like, now I'm curious about something. Why do I need to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars every month in Google Ads, but I need to buy a third-party provider service to offer me the level of insights, right? Which kind of interesting, but it kind of explains us how the brain of those platform works, right? PMax as well. PMax literally takes the data, but it limits itself to GA4 data and Google Ads data, and it helps us to kind of achieve the result. So I think that what we are seeing is that they still didn't perfect the data the way they want to analyze to be able to get better results, because PMax does include remarketing. Let's not forget that they do include a remarketing piece into the whole equation of PMax. So do you think like platforms like the one I talked to are going to be necessary in the future, or do you think that like it's just the fact that
No,
they
I mean, of course, Google has a bit of a cloud thingy going on as well. And I think from that cloud, there's a certain visualization tool that you can plug in. Um, and I think you need to have that type of visualization because there are certain levels in terms of, I mean, raw data is never really clean. Uh, you need to almost clean it.
yeah.
Um, for it to be presentable, so you can actually look at information that is current and valid for you. um, and similar to this prospect that you're talking to, that it did something very smart here. They jigsawed out exactly the type of personas and what type of audiences that they wanted to really target. um, so they started, they went out, they took the raw data. Then they started asking the questions. They fine tuned it and made sure that the data was clean before they actually started working with it and then sending it back. And
No,
and I mean,
it's interesting, right? That Google doesn't do that itself, but I think that there are, to answer the big question, the big elephant in the room. You can optimize PMax campaign. You just need to be a very good strategist. It's not anymore about checking the clicks, checking the search term reports, right? It's all about thinking and strategizing for the client, right?
and I think again, I mean, there are still flaws with GA4, but I think now when GA4 is starting to add more of the relevant features and sort of the insights, we will be able to start extrapolating a lot more also in terms of what type of audience, what to target when and how, as well. So together, by using this experience and insights from GA4, um, and then potentially a third party tool, you will be able to come to some greater insights that, I mean, you shouldn't buy the pig in the bag. They're hypotheses. You need to test them, um, and you just need to be patient. I mean, I noticed that I have a lot of clients. They want to see results in the
Yes.
next 5 days.
No, yesterday I want to see.
Yeah, I know exactly yesterday, but if you're testing something, they give you 5 days. I was like, sorry, it will take longer uh, than that.
Yeah,
But
and I feel bad for e-commerce, because with the iOS 14, the data privacy, basically anything that could go wrong in the last 2 years went wrong in the digital marketing space, right? Costs have raised as a result of that. GA4 comes to be as a result of what happened during those changes in the last 2 years, right?
yep.
Facebook went from being a super efficient platform to not knowing whether the data is correct or not. So now you need to use a third party provider to put data in Facebook. It has been a very stressful year for e-commerce stores.
And I mean, I think it's just a good prep, for what is about to come more and more. And I mean, we're starting to lose the control of cookies. Um, there's a certain percentage that is out of that already, and
Yep.
and soon it'll become more. And it's almost like, I think, when you and I started doing marketing, sort of in the digital space, where it wasn't that reliant, and one needed to almost go back to asking the basic question, where did you hear about us, and
Yeah.
etc., and then starting to really piece things together. And I think moving away from I think we needed, you as a company and a brand and a service needs to start establishing strong relationships with each individual client and potential prospect, versus something that hasn't sort of been the case up until over the last couple of years.
Yeah, to me personally, when it comes to those data dramas, I have a very personal point of view, which is very easy, right? It's like, first of all, whoever works in digital marketing knows that that data is private. I cannot know the name, last name, and address of the person simply because he visited my website, right? But that information is very useful to me to make my small business profitable in terms of an e-commerce or a lead gen company, right? But what people, I think, forget is that they are using google.com, they are using Facebook, they're using Instagram, they're using TikTok, right? How much, Alex, do you pay to have a Facebook profile? How much do you pay for a TikTok profile? How much do you pay to use Google? It's all for free, right? It's a free service. Well, technically, you can also pay $30 a month, but I don't collect your cookie, or you can use it for free. And hey, if you shop for this glass, there is nothing bad in anonymously knowing that, so I can try to sell you that glass because you're shopping for it anyway. That's the part that makes me upset about all the 2 last years of cookieless world.
But I mean, you know, GDPR is a fact in Europe, and then you have client companies that haven't implemented it, and sort of is on them. But I think it also creates a trust issue, and I've seen probably at, at least a minimum of 30%, 30 to 40% that are opting out now in Europe. So nothing, no triggers are happening. You don't even know if they've been to the website, so you don't
Yeah.
even have any. So all of a sudden, you're trying to compare as well old data to new data, but you don't see that actually X% has disappeared. And but it's because they've chosen to not sort of disclose that they've been there.
Yeah,
And but
I think it's a bit tricky. Like, you're using a free service still. Uh, you know,
no, no, of course, I mean, but I think, I think like this could be a topic on its own, but
yeah.
on its, it's more how far you could push. I gave you this for free, and you giving me your data in
Anonymous
in
data.
exchange.
It's anonymous data. That's the part that I think many people don't get, But regardless of
I
that,
think, but I think that's what I mean.
so
There's
me,
been too
me as
many
a
cases
consumer,
where it's no longer like that.
like Rocco the consumer, not Rocco the marketer, I used to love when they tracked me, because let's say I wanted to buy this cup, right? I knew that I was gonna get ads about this cup the moment I searched for it. So I would search for an object I wanted and browse the site and left. And then I would get all sorts of cooler objects at a much better price. I was like, I like this. Now it's not happening anymore.
I mean, and as I think I'm with you, and I was also fascinated about how certain brands were able to come up with some very ingenious ways,
Yeah.
and to sort of get around it. And I started thinking to myself, how can I do something that is even better than that?
Yeah, maybe the next topic is going to be how to like thrive in digital marketing in a cooking less world. That could be an interesting topic we should cover, Alex.
I think that's I mean, I'm super keen on that one. Been looking because I was already preparing for Google's end of cookies somewhere this year too, but clearly it's happening next year, they say.
Yeah, we're gonna call it Armageddon, I guess.
Yep, something like that.
Yeah. But Alex, I would like to thank you for joining me today. Just as a reminder to everybody, these episodes are gonna be on YouTube. They're gonna be stored on LinkedIn. Alex, we are trying to do within one episode a month, covering different topics. We both own agencies. We always had discussion between the two of us in private. I was like, Alex, I think more people can benefit from having this discussion live, and they might find it helpful. So there we are, decided to do that once a month. I would like to thank all the listeners, everybody that commented. Alex, any last remarks on your end?
No, I mean, I can't agree more. These are super fun, and I mean, the more people that contribute as well, they give additional dimensions and thoughts to I think our everyday life. And I mean, I think Rock and I see things similarly, but yet different. So it's really great to sort of pounce them out at times.
No, thank you so much, Alex, and thank you for joining us. I know it's pretty late in the Friday there here in South Africa.
No, no, not, I always have time.
It's 5 o'clock there, right?
It's just after 5, so yeah,
Yeah,
no, it's
you
not
need
late
to
at
grab
all.
your first drink of the afternoon then.
Have a good one. Have a lovely Friday.
Bye bye, everyone.
Bye.